we go to Japan.
Why?
In a recent video where Apple products were being sold, looked at, put back,
Hold up.
and no issues.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, I know, right?
What the hell's going on out here?
And the Prime Minister dropping hammers on third world scumbaggery.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
There is a serious lesson that can be taught here to the West.
Oh, it's true.
I'm Jazz Berganza on this. As an American citizen, yeah, I agree.
Do it.
Let's be more like Japan.
You are correct, sir. Yes.
And it's what's next.
And here we go.
What's up, everyone? Jazz Berganza, what's next? Your daily dose. Happy Monday. And of course, coming off the resurrection weekend. Yes, Christ is risen. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. And of course, as always, new day, new week, and new bullshit. And this is not bullshit at all. Well, it is kind of bullshit here in America, but in Japan, it's taken very seriously. What am I talking about? In a recent video, a TikToker had decided to record himself while he was over in a Japan Apple store. And he noticed something different. He noticed that all the Apple products weren't locked up. They didn't have security devices on them. What's the issue? But we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But in the meantime, to get more of a broader context, we go to this. This is coming from Ripperverse 59. And of course, those who know him, Eric July. And he has a comic book company. He has done multiple videos on many different subjects in pop culture over the years. But he talks about the situation in Japan and why it's an issue, and then my thoughts. And here we go.
And has been very interesting. You've seen a lot of Americans and Japanese folk showing a lot of love to each other's cultures, and it's been awesome to see. That being said, I did stumble across this post from Senator Mike Lee that I wanted to talk about today. Now, in this post, Mike Lee is retweeting a Japanese citizen, I believe.
May not show the entire video,
in Japan, we don't need to put locks
we'll
on all of our Apple products because we won't steal them. And you can see a video basically comparing that. Stuff that you generally see, strapped down in their stores are not. People are just getting it, looking at it, putting it back, and that's the end of it. So I want to answer this question for Senator Mike Lee, and what I'm going to say is going to be a very harsh reality, and a lot of people aren't going to like it. Now, I want to get this part out the way. I know you can't point to certain demographics that are likely to steal. You can talk about third worlders being imported, and that's not to say that those aren't an issue, but it's not the issue, and I'll tell you why. Now, this country, unfortunately, in this country, degeneracy has run rampant.
Facts.
And that wouldn't be necessarily an issue all by itself if you didn't have the political class working extremely hard to justify said bad behavior. America's gotten away from private property rights, from which all rights are private property rights, which start with yourself and the fact that you own yourself. It's called self-ownership. And all this material private property is an extension of that. Unfortunately, if you understand, or rather listen to the different, like the rhetoric that these types use, they act like it's just stuff. And that's why you get folks that are so willing to and ready to try to part ways or have you part ways from that by taking it from you and using aggression in the process. That being said, like I said before, if the political
Sorry about the little lag
this
in the video.
Be a problem at all. You can just do stuff. You can just rid this country of all of this nonsense. You would think that America, of all places, is about liberty. You would think, unfortunately it's not the case, but you would think that this would be the country that upholds private property rights.
You would think?
It does not. You remember during the Summer of Love in 2020, you had all these people going business to business, looting the place, small businesses that never recovered, by the way. And what did you have all these folks doing, including some politicians, saying that it's just stuff?
No, I mean, of course, it's not stuff. The fact of the matter is that between the coof, the pandemic nonsense, the burning down of half the city, not half the city, half the country, You know, this nonsense, it's like I said, it's never recovered. Half of all small businesses never recovered, never came back after the Summer of Love in 2020. That's a fact. And we're talking across all genres. We're talking about across all the boards, you know, for everything from selling groceries to selling sneakers, you know, to just, just thrift stores never recovered, you know, because I agree with Eric. People just thought it's just stuff. So, you know, they can come back. No, they didn't.
It's just stuff. Those folks got insurance. Obviously, they have no idea how insurance works, but
Not all.
it's just stuff. Who cares that they stole it from you? In fact, you had folks. Because think about it. If you try to defend yourself, or rather defend your private property, what happens? You have to follow all these rules, or the state criminalizes you for it. That's what was happening in 2020. I covered a story where you had this shop owner who had someone looting the place and they shot him dead. But because they live in a duty to retreat law, well, that became illegal and they charged the man with murder. This type of stuff happens, and this is
Facts.
why folks are so willing to steal. You have obviously pockets of this country that punish people or won't even give you a felony depending on how much stuff you steal. If it's under a certain amount, right, you can steal thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
California, as long as it's under $1,000, $999, someone can go break into an Apple store, steal all that shit. As long as it's under $1,000, or any store, you know, any retail, California will not penalize them with a felony. It will be just a misdemeanor. Thank you, Gavin. Yes, I am gay. Newsom.
Doesn't matter. We'll slap you on the wrist and you'll be right back there on the streets. That's your problem. It's not a comp.
We're not going to play the entire thing. We'll go from that to this. Sorry about that. And this is pretty much a perfect example.
Visiting Japan decided to go to the Apple store there, and of course it's completely different than the ones in America. Actually, they're pretty similar, except for the fact that none of their devices have those anti-theft wires like they do
I
in
wonder
the United
why.
States. And the reason for that is because Tokyo has one of the lowest crime rates in the world. Meanwhile, most of the
Facts.
cities in America have some of the highest, which is not that
Facts.
surprising considering this literally happened at an Apple store in California not even a year ago, so it's not really like those wires are doing much good anyways. So this TikToker who's visiting
Eric makes some great points with private property rights, you know, that people don't take them seriously anymore. And you would think that, right, that, as he said, in America, you know, land of liberty, land of freedom, land of laws, not really, political wills, absolutely, that we would take this more seriously. But the fact of the matter is that too much of the toothpaste has been let out of the tube. You know, you can't put it back. You know, it is what it is. The fact of the matter is that you got states who looks like dumpster fires because of the garbage that has been allowed to infiltrate. And we're not just talking third world nonsense. We're not talking about, we're not talking about Somalis in Minnesota. We're talking about Americans, the usual suspects, brown, black, and yes, sometimes white, do stupid shit and are allowed to do so. In Japan, that shit doesn't work. Anytime a third worlder, a Muslim third worlder, a Somali third worlder, an American, usual suspects usually roll up in Japan and try to do stupid nonsense like this, Japan cracks the whip, they drop the hammer. And speaking about dropping hammers, the Prime Minister of Japan recently was signing into a new immigration law, basically putting stricter, massive restrictions on third world knuckleheads, on third world scumbaggery coming into her country. But we need to be more like Japan. But the fact of the matter is, can we? Can we roll back the clock at this point to stop this nonsense? A number of states have cracked down, and rightly so, and God bless them for it. But a number of states, you would think that California, under Gavin Newsom, well, who's an absolute joke and his wife's a clown, one of the most profitable states in the country and one of the ones with the biggest debts in the country, would see the nonsense. But no, let's enact a law that as long as it's not $1,000, it's still a misdemeanor. So if they break into your house, it's a misdemeanor. If they break into a retail store, it's a misdemeanor. If they break in here, there, and everywhere, as long as it's under $1,000, it's a misdemeanor. No, that's a felony in 90% of the states in the country. But of course, leave it to California. And of course, I won't be surprised if New York was doing this stupid nonsense as well. But anyway, at the end of the day, when you have the usual suspects and third world scumbaggery allowed to run unfettered, to run amok, spring break, anyone? 2026? Anyway, this is what you're going to get. Japan, their culture will not allow this. And this has been going on for decades. Japan has put laws into effect that will not allow this nonsense, this trash, to go on in their country. And like I said in my opener, we need to be more like Japan. But sadly, when you have so many states that are blue, never going to happen, because guess what? It's not their money, it's yours. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it, Spread the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.